But like as a metaphor, it's like that's how our homes are, right? Like
Um,
as we go through life, we collect all these memories, we collect, this stuff that reminds us of our journey through life. And you can collect a lot of stuff, and the size of your car dictates how much you can collect, right? If you have a bigger car, you can collect a little bit more than if you have a small compact vehicle. But how much you decide to fill your space really dictates how comfortable you are in that
right,
space, right?
right.
How am I going to be able to enjoy that journey
Hmm.
if the window's blocked with stuff? Am I going to be able to enjoy the journey if I can't stretch my legs out, or if I can't talk to the person next to me, or if I can't feel,
Get
be able to
comfortable.
move and
Yeah.
get comfortable, right? And so I think road trips are a really great metaphor for how we can look at our home and our space and our stuff.
Welcome to Reframe and Reclaim. We are Courtney Huckabee, a psychotherapist,
and Jen Harris, an interior designer who have teamed up
to reflect,
challenge,
and reframe your mindset in relationship with your personal belongings.
Join us as we discuss and declutter all of the stuff that keeps us stuck.
Learn to intentionally create environments with improved function and design that cultivate peace of mind. Find the reframe.
Start your reclaim.
Welcome back to another episode of Reframe and Reclaim. I'm Jen Harris.
And I'm Courtney Huckabee.
And today we are discussing all things kind of travel. It's summertime. I love a good road trip. I don't know about you.
Yes.
But one of the things when we were writing our book was the metaphor of a road trip, right?
Right.
And as you travel, as you pack to go on vacation, you think of all the essentials you're going to need when you get there to your destination and what you want. And as most people know, I can Tetris a good amount of stuff of essentials, into for a weekend getaway, like 3 weeks worth of essentials for one weekend. I can overpack with the best of them. But, really taking a look and step back as far as what's really going to enhance your trip and what do you really need or don't need in order to make it successful. Because I don't know about you, but I definitely enjoy the road trip much more when I have space to move around. There's not luggage all around me. It's much more enjoyable.
And there is a saying, it's about the journey, not the destination.
Yes.
And so even though we are getting to a destination, we want to make sure the journey to get there is also enjoyable. And I will say, I'm right there with you. I am an overpacker, whether it's a flight destination or a road trip destination, just because you don't always know what you might need just in case. I want to be
Just in
overly
case.
prepared.
Yes.
But I do think, using some of the reframe and reclaim, we need to really think about and reflect, what will I need on this trip? Am I really going to need my snow boots when I go to the beach? Probably not. Am I really going to need that sundress when I go and visit the mountains in, December? Probably not. And so I think reframing, reclaiming
Yes.
what we need. But I know you have some really good strategies because you have done a really long road trip to visit family. Texas all the way to the state of Maine.
Yes. So growing up, we road tripped everywhere. I mean, I have done the drive from Texas to Colorado multiple times. I've done Colorado to Maine. I've done Texas to Maine. I've done Texas to Florida, Texas to North Carolina, Texas to Northern California. I've done the whole Pacific Coast Highway. We've done the Oregon Trail. We road tripped a lot. And so I've seen a lot of the country, And last summer, we decided to do our first big road trip with our sons, who were 5 and 7 at the time. And I was a little terrified because we were going from Texas to Maine. I know. We're going from Texas to Maine, and there were 5 of us in the car, 3 adults, 2 kids. And it actually went so much better than I thought it would. Now, I will say technology helped. When I was growing up, we had our Walkman in the window and some books, and that was it. And I remember sleeping in, the wheel wells, at the footboards in the back seat with my head in the middle hump. If anybody remembers those in the back seats of cars.
The good old days.
The good old days, just curled up, sleeping. So that's not possible now, which is good. It's a good thing. But I just reminisced a little there. Bringing back some memories for me. But so I was a little terrified because I was like, how are these kids going to be entertained for so long?
Sure.
So what we ended up doing was breaking the trip up into 7 days. Now, normally we would take, when I was a kid, we did it in like 3, but we broke it up into 7 days. We went and took a detour to South Carolina and stayed with family for 2 days. So we kind of made it 2 mini trips. Another thing that was really successful is we didn't drive usually more than 8 hours a day. We might have one long day in there where it was like 10 to 12 hours, but we tried to do a morning push, have lunch, and we would have our lunches places where there were playscapes to play at, or we would stop at a lot of the state lines at their rest areas would have playgrounds, so we would stop and let them run around for 20-30 minutes. So we definitely took our time, and we were able to get there. Everyone still loved each other, and I actually enjoyed the ride.
You enjoyed the
We
journey.
enjoyed it, yes. And one thing, when I was a kid growing up, but our parents would give us quarters.
Oh.
And every time we say, "Are we there yet? When are we going to get there?" We'd have to pay them money.
That's
And so
such a
then
great
we would get
trick.
to keep anything that we maintained, right? We got to keep. And so my mother gave them $5 each in quarters at the beginning of the trip. Neither kid lost any quarters. I was shocked by that. And we came up with like a song that we sang every time we crossed the state line.
Made
And
it
so we kind of
fun.
made it memorable and fun. Another tip that was really, really helpful was on Pinterest for road trips. People would have like little, paper bags with new activities or things for kids to do. And so we ended up having extra bags at the end. We didn't even use all of them, but I would try to have like 1 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. Or it's like if we crossed a state line, we'd open this one. Or I had one where it's like if the kids are hangry, give them this one. Or if they're fighting, it was like a little mini punching bag, like so things tailored to the mood. If we need a laugh, there was a joke book. So really kind of
Love that.
accommodating and doing things
So you were
along the
planning
way.
of the things that may
Yes.
occur.
Yes.
Are we there yet? They're hungry. They're arguing. We're going to be crossing state lines. So you were planning ahead. Not all of the things you needed to pack in your bags, but the journey along the way, maybe some of
Yes.
those needs. And it sounds like it really did help everybody enjoy it.
It did. It really did. And it made it fun. Like, right? So it's like, oh, it's time to open another bag, and the kids would switch off who would get to open it. And then I also thought about once they get these little things or candy or whatever, where is it going to go while we're in the car, right? Because we ended up using the entire back because we were traveling to Maine, and my mother stays up there from the beginning of the summer all the way through usually October, sometimes December. So she takes her life with her, right? And then we just take our bags and some things, but there's a lot of stuff that has to go in the car. So she was actually sitting in like the middle seat most of the time between the 2 booster
Bless
seats.
her.
Yes. I know.
Bless her.
And so it wasn't the most comfortable situation, but because we broke the trip up and we're only doing 3 to 4 hour drives at a time, it made it very manageable for everybody. And then what we did is I took a like medium-sized tote, plastic tote bin. My kids still can't quite reach the bottom of the floorboard. So a lot of times when we're traveling, we use their suitcases as like a footrest for them to prop their feet up on. But that would have been a big hassle with the adult that's in the middle trying to get in and out, pulling the luggage. So we just did like a smaller tote bin. And then anything they got, any books they had, any candy that was there, they each had their own bin.
Smart.
We put it in there, and then it could slide under the seat or come out easily. It was easy to access. I also bought new behind the chair organizers that have a flip down table. So I have tried before the lap boards that you like just put on their laps, but my kid, they would shift, they would fall. Inevitably,
There's a bump in the road.
it would make a huge mess. So these are actually attached to the back of the seats, and then it flips down, the table flips down so they could have snacks there if they wanted, or if they wanted to color. And there's pockets for their books that they could easily grab. So again, going back to the independence where they can grab it on their own. And so it worked out really, really well. It was a really smooth drive. And another recommendation is headphones. So you can listen to audiobooks in the main cabin while they're they're tuned out.
Yeah.
So
So you had experience from your childhood, your road trips, and what worked for you, what worked for that time, maybe what didn't work for that time, and then knowing your boys and really trying to prepare and plan for what they needed. But it made the journey so much more pleasant, which is part of the memory, right?
yeah, oh, 100%. Yeah, and now every time we cross a state line, we sing the same song
Oh,
over
fun.
and over again. And I will say they weren't on their screens the whole time. I wanted to make sure it was broken up, but that's why I tailored what was in the little paper bag so that way we could break it up where it's like, okay, you can have some time in the morning,
Mhm.
break it up, do an activity.
Yeah, I remember, traveling when I was younger. We did road trips as well. Maybe not from like Colorado to Maine or Texas to Maine, but we would do short road trips in Texas or
Hmm.
within Florida where my grandmother lived. We did lots of traveling throughout the state to see different places. I do remember, I had like a baby doll. And that was the thing I played with in the back seat. I didn't have TV. I didn't have a
Hmm.
phone. I didn't have those things. And so now that we have technology, it's wonderful, but again, we don't have to have that as the babysitter for all of those things. And having that interaction and those things that we're doing together as a family creates more of those memories together.
Yes. And we made sure that too that like we brought a football or we brought like a game of catch that was easy to access in the back. So that way when we would stop at rest areas, we could get out and play for a bit. We also wanted to make sure when we knew we were coming up on a landmark or something, it was like everybody tablets down, look out the
Oh, this is
window.
what the
And
landmark
so,
is.
yeah, going over like the Mississippi River on like the giant bridges, they're just like, we're up so high, we're taller than the buildings, and that's one of the highlights of the trip for
Oh,
them. So that was very fun.
yeah. I will say, with my son now, we've been on some longer travel arrangements, but it's been more of the flights.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't ready for a road trip with him, yet. There's a lot
I
of,
completely understand.
but we'll get there one day. We've done some short road trips within Texas, but we've flown internationally, and I think that there's a lot of important things of, yes, the screens and tablets are wonderful, but we haven't done that a whole lot with my son. He gets to pack his own little carry-on bag, and all that's
Hmm.
in that is toys and books that he wants to read. So he gets to choose that and pick that himself. And then, we'll pack all those snacks and things as needed. He doesn't always like, the snacks that they have in the airport, or they don't always have the things that he will eat in the other places we go. So
Yes.
making sure those are packed away. But it is, whatever expectations you have for your children, we don't want them to act like mini adults. They can't do that. So making sure that
Hmm.
we're creating experiences and what's realistic for them along that journey.
Yeah, and going along with realistic things, I know when we travel on plane flights and stuff, my kids have their own backpacks they carry. And so one of my sons wants to bring everything. And so we have to reiterate, we are not carrying your backpack. You're responsible for
Right,
this. And
right.
we'll practice beforehand. Like when it's loaded, it's like, okay, walk around for a bit, see how you feel, and there's times it's like, oh, I need to take some things out. And so
Hmm.
really helping them level set their expectations too of what they can handle because they can do everything.
They can. They can. I know for me, when it comes to packing, I'm really big on packing their outfits together. And
Yes.
so I do it for myself as well. So I'm like, we're going to be there for 5 days or we're going to be there for 7 days. And I'll pack like 3 or 4 extra outfits. So I give myself a number limit. For my
Hmm.
little boy, I may give him like 5 or 6 extra outfits, spilling things, there might be an accident of some kind. But I think that's really helpful for me now because used to I'd be like, oh, I love this dress and I love these shoes and I love that thing. And then I'm like, I didn't get to wear most of
Yeah.
these. But I have seen some people who are like, how to take this one skirt and, use it
Mm.
5 different ways. And I don't know how to master that yet, but I'm really trying to hone in on, okay, I can wear that shirt with those pants one day, and then I can wear those pants with the other shirt another day, or I can wear the skirt with its cardigan. And so I'm trying to learn how to reframe my packing habits from younger adulthood to more realistic habits now that I have a husband and a child and lots of extra things to take along the way.
Yes. So several years ago, I flew internationally with my family. We did a trip. My kids were my youngest was like 9 months old. And it was the first time I was flying away from him. But I packed 10 days worth of clothes for Ireland in a single carry-on bag. I was so proud of myself. Everybody was like, you have to pack small because we're all going to be in this van. We don't have a lot of space. Come to find out, everybody else overpacked and did laundry. But I was very proud of myself for being such an overpacker. And one of the things I did, and it's easier depending on certain types of clothing, but like I brought jeans and I wore those like 3 days, and I wore the other pair 4 days. And so I was really trying to
That's so great.
elongate some of my clothes. And then I would switch tops every day, right? And so, and everything was mix and match. I went with a pretty basic color scheme. It's very capsule wardrobe-esque.
Yes, I like going
right?
very basic. How can this match with this or that
Yes.
go with that if
Yes.
needed?
But I was able, I did it before, so I know I can do it again. I know. And I find packing cubes very, very helpful to condense things and just keep things easy to find once you unpack. I used to travel internationally a lot for business. And I don't, if I'm in a place for 2 days, I don't like just digging out of my suitcase and things.
Right.
I like to actually
Settle.
unpack, put it in the drawers. But
Mhm.
to make it easier with the packing cubes, I just unzip the cube, lay it in the drawer. So that way I still feel comfortable and like I'm at a home more than a suitcase, but it's easy to just zip up, throw back in, and go. So that's something that's worked out really well for me. As far as taking that into road trips, if you are going on a long multi-day road trip, one thing I recommend is having a separate overnight bag
Oh.
and packing just clothes for the next or for the breaking up of your trip. So like knew we were going to South Carolina as our halfway point. So we packed 3 days worth of clothes to get us to South Carolina, where we would then
So you're not taking
free.
all the luggage out of the car every
Yes.
time that you stop somewhere.
Yes. And that made it so much easier because there was a lot of stuff for 5 people to go around. In this bag, we also included all of our swim gear because we tried to find hotels with swimming pools because that's a really good way to wear children
Get
out in the
energy
car.
out. They're sitting for so
Yes.
long in the car. They need to
Yes.
have time to get that energy out.
So, but having that separate bag really made it so much easier.
That's
So,
wonderful. Yeah, and I will say, I have that for my toiletries. Anytime I go somewhere, like the separated little sections of, like
mhm.
my toothpaste and stuff, and maybe my face wash, and then maybe my makeup, and then maybe the body wash and stuff like that. So I think it's really great, those organizational things. Like they've already created it. If you can purchase
Mhm.
those things, or if you can find a way to create your own packing systems for that, it can be really great. But travel is so much fun. But I have a
Yes.
lot of not so great memories of travel. And so I think, when
Mm.
it comes to that, whether it's, I forgot to pack something that I really needed that one time, or I lost my suitcase along the way one
Oh,
time. And so I love that you talk about keeping some of the clothes in your carry-on or in an easy accessible,
mhm.
whether it's a flight trip or a road trip, just so you have something. I remember very embarrassingly enough, I was going on a trip that I usually go to, something I was very accustomed to packing for, and I did not pack any underwear. Like
Oh,
I was so excited.
yes.
I packed all of the shoes I needed. I packed all of the hats I wanted. I packed lots of extra cute things. And I had to go to the store. And I was so excited about all these other things. And I was like, I know how to pack for this. So making sure you have maybe a checklist of sorts,
Mhm.
having those essentials.
Yes, yes. I love a good checklist when it comes to packing.
I know,
So
not the
maybe we can
greatest
make that
experience.
another freebie too. It's things to pack with kids and all the things. Yes. Do you have any other like I know you said you got your undergarments for your road trip, but do you have any memories like from your road trips as a kid or like how
Mhm.
things worked or what you brought
I
or
will say, like, I do remember having my own bag, and so that is how we've incorporated that with my son. Like, I had my own bag, where I could put, toys, books, different things like that I wanted it, and I carried that around with me. I also had to carry and keep up with it as well.
Mhm.
But the road trips, and I still have it in my car. I grew up with road trip bingo, and it's one of
Yes.
those things where kids and adults alike, or doing those like I Spy games, like I Spy Something with the
Mhm.
letter A all the way down to the letter Z. So where we went on these road trips, I don't always remember that, but the things that the adults and my parents did along the way to create those memories. And again, I really loved like the road trip bingo and the I Spy. I still do
Mhm.
that with my little boy, even, just around the town when we're running errands. And we create fun memories in the car. So it's not about all of us being, secluded and, in the same space, but not connecting.
Yes.
And as a counselor, I'm really big on, communication and connection and doing those things the best we can, role modeling. Uh, but yeah, like I loved playing with my baby dolls in the back seat while my parents were driving, or having the I Spy and then like blacking out the I Spy or the diagonal I Spy or bingo across. So it was kind of fun for me.
We would do the ABC game where you had to find a word that started with the letter A and then a word that started with the letter B. Doesn't work great on shorter road trips, but it
Uh-huh.
works well on the long road trips. And then another thing I put in like the bag. Maybe I should make a list of like the things that
That'd be
we
really
did.
helpful for me.
But like Mad Libs, we would do Mad Libs,
I
and
did
so I'd be
those all
sitting
the
in the
time.
front, like taking down my kids' answers,
Hmm.
and with my younger ones, it'd be like, "What's a noun?" And you'd have to kind of talk them through things. But
Education.
then it was really funny, the stories we'd come up with, and we still recall some of the Mad Libs.
So fun. Yeah. I will say, those games and things that you can make the journey enjoyable.
Hmm.
It's not just where we're going, but like along the way. Because sometimes the journey is a lot longer than we
Yes.
really, realize. And it can feel a lot longer when we aren't preparing ourselves for that.
And I also use the time to give my kids like the special treats that I don't normally let them have, like a fruit by the foot or more candy. And I would, taper it so it wasn't a ton of candy while they're sitting there with nothing to do. But, like this special kind of muffin my son likes, or certain snacks that they don't get all the time. So that made it a little more
Special.
special as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When my son was younger, we would kind of buy a couple of toys that he didn't get to play with, and we introduced it to him on the trip. And
Yes.
so that was really great when he was a young kid, in months old, a year old. And so that was something that was a little more novel and exciting for him. But I just hope that everybody who gets to take some summertime to do some traveling,
Yes.
find things that make it special and enjoyable for you.
For sure. And one last little story before we go. So I remember I was flying out to Hawaii for a friend's wedding, and I was meeting a lot of other friends at the airport. And I was the last one to get there. And so everybody else has already put their stuff in the car. They went and bought groceries. We're there, the car is packed. And so I get in to sit, and no joke, there's luggage here, there's luggage at my feet, there's luggage on my lap. And so like my first view of Hawaii is like this. And it's a really funny story now, but like as a metaphor, it's like that's how our homes are, right? Like
Oh,
as we go through life, we collect all these memories, we collect, this stuff that reminds us of our journey through life. And you can collect a lot of stuff, and the size of your car dictates how much you can collect, right? If you have a bigger car, you can collect a little bit more than if you have a small compact vehicle. But how much you decide to fill your space really dictates how comfortable you are in that
right,
space, right?
right.
How am I going to be able to enjoy that journey
Hmm.
if the window's blocked with stuff? Am I going to be able to enjoy the journey if I can't stretch my legs out, or if I can't talk to the person next to me, or if I can't feel,
Get
be able to
comfortable.
move and
Yeah,
get comfortable, right? And so I think road trips are a really great metaphor for how we can look at our home and our space and our stuff.
definitely, definitely. So if you have any summer plans, we wish you the very best.
Yes.
If you have tricks, strategies, tips for anybody, please comment, let us know. And if you'd love to learn more about Reframe and Reclaim, find us online. We have a website, we have social media. Like us, follow us, comment. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, and we'll see you next time. Have a great summer.
Thanks for listening to us with Reframe and Reclaim at our podcast. If you are interested in more information about our book, you can find our book at any online retailer. You can also find us at reframe-reclaim.com.